I just felt God tugging on my heartstrings to give the last $1,000 I had in my bank account, like the very last $1,000. And I was like, Lord, are you sure this is you? Because how am I going to get home? Hi, my name is Brad. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm the owner here at Pinball Garage, but most importantly, I'm a born-again Christian. Almost 20 years ago, our family started doing mission trips in Mexico, and we connected with a pastor there named Pastor Daniel, and Pastor Daniel had a vision to build 50 churches in the greater Tijuana area. So we went one year, 3 days after Christmas, and took the whole family, like 18 of us, and we built 2 houses, and we got to meet Pastor Daniel. He was one of our translators. And he shared with us what God had put in his heart, and we really connected with him. And he quickly became like a close family friend, and now he's like a part of our family. But back then, he had just had one church, and he was the pastor of it. And we agreed the following year to come build his second church for him, and just really got behind what he was doing. So every year or a few times a year we would go and we would help him. We build a church or build some houses. One year as a family we decided that we were going to take the whole summer off, jump in the RV, hit some cool spots in the US, but spend a month or so down in Mexico just helping with random stuff. Back then I owned an audio video company, and it was a pretty big deal to take like 2 or 3 months off of work for the whole summer. I mean, that was like 2 or 3 months of no income or very little income. I had my brother kind of help in with some of the jobs, but it was pretty tough. So we had a really tight budget. And during the time, we saw God provide a lot, but things towards the end of the trip started getting pretty tight. And then they got really tight when we found out that all of the batteries in our RV were stolen. While it was sitting in San Diego, of all places, we thought, hey, let's leave in San Diego. It'll be safer there. And it was at a church parking lot, and all the batteries got stolen, which is, for an RV, it's like a couple $1,000 to replace all the batteries. It's not just like a car battery that's $100. It was a big deal. We were already down to basically just having gas money to get home in the RV, which is a whole lot of money. And at the very same time, we were sitting in a church service there, and there was a huge need arise with one of the families at the church. I just felt God tugging on my heartstrings to give the last $1,000 I had in my bank account, like the very last $1,000. And I was like, Lord, are you sure this is you? Because how am I going to get home? We can't fly home. We can't walk home. It's, a few thousand miles. We got to have money to drive home, and no money was really coming in. It was the end of summer. And it was very challenging. My mom, however, always taught me and our family, it's never Satan telling you to give, especially to a believer that really needs a miracle. And I thought, is their situation more desperate than my situation? And it was. So we did. You talked it over with my wife, and she's like, that's rough, but yeah, sure, let's do it. So we did, and we had about a week left before we were leaving Mexico. And in Mexico, it's pretty cheap there. They fed us every day. We didn't really have any expenses, so we weren't like sweating it while we were there. But we knew this big trip to get home was going to be expensive. So we got down to like the morning that we were going to head to the border and go to the RV, and then somehow find a way to go buy batteries first. So we needed to go buy batteries, which we found at a Costco. It was still like $1,000. Just for enough to get by. Not even enough to get the RV completely batteried up, but we got enough to get by. We didn't have that money, and we didn't have, I would guess, a couple grand in gas at that time to get home. I mean, the thing got like 8 miles a gallon, so it was a big RV. So that morning, we're just praying. We're like, all right, Lord, if you want us to go home, then we need to go home, because the kids have to start school in like a week. And we wanted to give ourselves enough time to like stop at some national parks, and because we were going home the upper side of the country. We went there on the lower side of the country on Route 66, and on the way home we wanted to like go through Salt Lake and go through some of the big parks and see like Mount Rushmore and stuff like that. So all that's pretty cheap to do, but you still have to get there. You still have to eat every day. And we just stocked up on some like groceries in the fridge for the trip home. But we were in the borderline and finally got back to our cellular service. I opened up my phone and checked my email while we're in like a 4-hour borderline. And in my email box was this job that came out of nowhere for my home theater job. And it was like a $20,000 job, which had like a good amount of profit in it. and it was like, okay, I'm sending you the money now, like right now, kind of a job. It was like literally out of nowhere. We had looked at the job months back. We never heard from anybody, and we just, it was one of those things where you give lots of bids for jobs when you own a business like that, and maybe one out of every 50 or something actually turned into a good job. And it wasn't just a good job. It was like, okay, this job not only will take care of all of our expenses to get home, but even when we get home, we'll be able to, show up at home with some money to survive for a little bit until the next job. So that for us, that was like instant confirmation that we were, one, doing what God asked us to do, being in Mexico, and two, I believe he was just reminding us that he has our back no matter what it looks like on the surface or what it looks like that day, that if we trust him, he's always got our back. And it was just an amazing experience that sometimes when you question whether or not, are you there, God? Are you real? Are you really listening to me? Those are moments you can look back on and go, absolutely. Whether it feels like it today or not, he was listening, and he was always there to help us and take care of us. I'm not anything special. I'm no different than anyone else. There's no reason why he won't show up for you just the same way that he's shown up for me, my wife, my children, my parents, my grandparents. Every Christian friend that I know has a story of how God has shown up for them and not turned his back on them. And that, to me, is enough reason to continue serving him, even when maybe something really hard's going on and it feels like he's not there.